Hello all. It's been so very long. I forgot that there's a countdown. So
it's
like
a very
I have to
long
start
time.
this again. But those people didn't hear it because there's another dimension called real life where they don't hear the stuff that goes on. Like we had a wonderful conversation about pants. And the audience missed our joke about pants.
They'll never know now.
They'll never know.
We could tell them, but...
Okay. We're legally not required to wear pants on the podcast.
I've been through my contract, and the word pants doesn't appear even once. Not even one time.
I love the idea of you having a contract.
Well, yeah. Do you not have one?
Co-host.
Yes.
I'm your random thought leader, Bridge Levoit, and I'm here with the girl, my co-host.
Representing my entire gender.
Ish.
I only listen to the ones I'm on.
Yeah, you should. Why?
No
like,
offense.
why would you listen to the other ones? It's not like there's anybody interesting, like Kootenai Girl, or.
I love her so much.
I know.
I really do.
Me too. I'm hoping. She hasn't gone back to me on scheduling yet, but what I want to do is do an episode where she life coaches me. So
I'll listen to that one.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be the one episode you listen to that you're not on.
I'm the only one.
So you notice that I have like more hair than normal.
I did notice that.
Yeah. I actually was growing my hair out because we were doing Comic-Con and I wanted to be daddy.
I have so much. Wait, is it daddy like a person, like a real actual? Hang on, I'm sorry. Is there like a one daddy that you're referring to, or is this just the daddy?
I was supposed to be Joel from The Last of Us, which is played by Pedro Pascal,
and he's father. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I was like, I put on my costume and I came down to the kids and I'm like, I am daddy. And they're like, don't say that.
Don't do that. When I saw that on the list,
like 3 or
panicked.
4 more times.
Okay.
And then I'm
glad you
maybe this is
that.
a bit much. And maybe I should only be saying it to like, women that are half my age plus 7.
That's, there we go. There it is. When I saw daddy on the list,
things are a bit different.
I was panicking. Like, are we going to talk about how calling people daddy is creepy? I don't know where that's going.
I couldn't do it. And it was funny. I got asked that question by a certain sex positive friend.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They're like, you don't do daddy play? I'm like, no, I think like being an actual father, it's like, no,
not that. Yeah.
Like I would say like until the kids move out of the house, like that's just not a thing like at all.
No, I don't love it.
Where I'll be at after that.
No, I am not a fan.
It may just not be necessary because it really implies a power dynamic that really shouldn't be in a sexual relationship.
That's true. That's a really good point. I just not a fan. Ken Jeong, the comedian, he thinks it's so funny and I hate it. Gives me the ick, as the kids say.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's like the whole aspect of daddy issues and all that.
Right.
And, yeah. Well, and I think that's been an interesting part too of like my deconstruction and I don't know if it's a reconstruction. I like, what is it? Reintegration. I think is what Kootenai Girl calls it. But it's like for me to be able to look at my children and just be like, what makes me angry with my children? And I'm like, very little. If I think that they're mistreating someone, then yeah, I'll be angry. And so then I'm like, okay, well, God's the perfect father. And so it's like, that really should be the only thing that makes him angry. Like, I don't understand why, like, there's all these kind of like purity laws and stuff that people follow where it's like, oh, well, you can do this, but you can't do that.
Oh, that's good.
You can do it sideways, but you can't do it upside down. No, you know what I mean?
Right. I'm
talking about sex.
What? In this economy?
Let's talk about sex, baby.
I've recently started therapy again. How's
that?
It's actually really perfect. I found one of the one of the apps that actually goes through my insurance. So yay, that's good. And
Dope.
they have the facilitation to do voice memos, which is like perfect because I can't make my appointment and sit and log in, and I'm working full time now. Yay. But, so, you know,
I was going to say Mama loves her voice memos.
I do. And that's how
I find Mama less disturbing.
That's really, cause it's nurturing. It's maternal. It's not like I'm in charge.
Yeah.
So I can do that, and she does them back.
You just got to be super careful with masculine energy.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
I think that's come down to it. But I was talking to her a little bit because she's like, hey, why are you scared all the time? Like, why do you think every time your boss calls your name, you're getting fired? Like, tell me about your childhood. And I was like, you don't get paid enough. But I was like,
my gosh.
I was like, there's a huge aspect of my childhood, again, being under some of Gothard teaching, or at least people who approved of him, that was the second anything is wrong, why am I being punished? Or why is God trying to get my attention? So like when stuff's rough, when my kids get sick, I still have that initial like, and my parents, you know, will make a joke of like, oh, is there unconfessed sin in your life? Do you need to talk about it?
Yeah.
Which is getting funnier, but it's there. It's always just, all right, what did I do that now my kid is dealing with this, or that I'm dealing with that? So it's always so that, you know, as parents, how harshly would I punish my kid for doing something? Why do I think that God is going to inflict something on my kid because of what I did? You know, I don't know. I've been dealing with that.
I resonate with that. Like, I have massive fear of authority. It's like you drive by and you see a police officer and you're like, okay, don't look suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Yep.
Or the boss starts looking over your shoulder while you're working and you're just like, my face is red.
Yes.
Like, I know that. Like, my blood's boiling, you know, and it's like, why is that?
I did go to him and just kind of casually, because I can't confront anything. I had a rough, like Monday and Tuesday specifically, where just I did nothing correctly. And a lot of it was rough because it was stuff I had done like 2 months ago when I first got hired and I was stupid. And I'm like, but I wouldn't have done it that way today. You're just finding it now. Like, but I know that now that I did that wrong then, but I haven't seen it since then. It's whatever. But I went in and I was like, hey, you're always chewing gum. Give me gum. I'm nervous today. Give me like chewing will help. And he was like, what are you nervous for? Because you did something wrong? I'm not mad at you. You're just nervous about it. We're fine. And I was like, that's helpful, but also not, because you should care that you made me feel bad. But like, he also shouldn't care that he made me nervous. It is what it is. But
so interesting. Yeah.
Everything is scary.
My crush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was talking about like, you know, when you make a mistake at work and how like, there's just this like intense, like, I screwed this up. I made someone's day harder. And she talked about like kind of working through that, like that perfectionism. And I think like part of that perfectionism too is like, strive for excellence. You know, if you're part of the worship team and serving, like she's done heavy serving at church, right? Where it's like your whole identity is like, you're the person that works hard. And again, I kind of step back and I'm like, okay, if I look at my kids and they make a mistake, am I angry? I'm like, no, I actually feel bad for them. So I'm like, why wouldn't God feel bad for you? Right? When you make a mistake.
Yeah. Oof.
So yeah, it's been a hell of a journey since November. I went off like, so we did that one last podcast right after, essentially my wife left me. And then like I went back into therapy, and I don't know if I told you that my therapist had like basically said like, you need to see the doctor about your ADHD, and you need to see them about, your, getting your physical. And I've been putting that off all that time. And she's like, don't come back and see me until you've seen your doctor. So I was like, so I stopped seeing my therapist for like
been
months.
there. Yep.
And then the event happened. And immediately after the event happened, I got the ball rolling with me getting my blood work done. And then I saw my doctor. And when I saw my doctor, it was funny because I was like, I found out some things were wrong. I need to change my diet, need to go on some pills. And I've been like exercising, like lots of walking. Like I walk, like trying to get that 115 heart rate for like fat burning. And I've seen like no results until like I had to do costume where I was daddy.
Silence. Yeah.
And like the clothes that I was wearing were larges. And I was like, this is going to be too snug. And when I put it on, I'm like, oh, it fits. And I'm like, oh, because I was like wearing extra large. And I got a bunch of shirts out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could fit these shirts now. And I'm like, I'm so excited. Yeah. And so I was like, that's a good feeling. And that kind of gave me a little bit more skip in my step. But yeah, so I returned to therapy and it was really good. Like it kind of helped me through like talking about boundaries and stuff like that. And then like the last couple sessions, she was like, so what are we going to work on next week? I'm like, I don't know. And then like I read somewhere like, or I think I saw on TikTok or something, somebody said like, you don't have to do therapy. And I'm like, huh. Because it's kind of like when you go to Cairo where you're like, oh, I got to go every week. And it's like, am I ever going to not? And so I'm kind of like on a break from therapy now because I'm just like, and it's like, which is amazing considering what went down. But I think like part of it too is I was like kind of saying to my therapist, I'm like, I just don't like that I don't have enough an emotional bandwidth to deal with other things. You know, I'm like, I've got like so much going on with the kids and then the divorce and school and work. And there's just like so many things going on that I don't have the emotional bandwidth to handle like some of these arguments that are happening, some of these issues that are happening in the world. And she's kind of like, she's like, Kate, you've got like a lot going on. And you want to be able to have enough emotional bandwidth to argue with strangers on the internet? And I'm like, point taken. Point taken. And so I think in the end, what I'm realizing is I've been taking this like a champ.
Good. Yay.
Going.
Good. That's giving permission to be like, I don't have to go every week. I'll go every 2. I'll see you every month. I'll call you if I need you. You know, to be able to do therapy at your pace is huge. And
it is. And I mean, and there's no shame in having to go every week. Like that's awesome. But I also, another reason why I'm not going, because it would be every second week because I travel every second week. But the other reason too is that it stresses me out that that's in my schedule.
Yes, I feel that.
I got to get my assignments done this week. Yeah. And so I'm like, it's stressing me out more than it's helping me.
I feel that.
And so, all right. So a big thing is that like a lot of what I did on my podcast was acting out of a dysfunctional relationship. And so a lot of the things I talked about with the church was actually talking more so about somebody who was and so my therapist had pointed that out, which was really helpful. So here's my thought. I think we've talked enough about how shitty church is or how shitty the church is. These people seem to prefer to live in shit, and I am prepared to let them do that. But I'm not going to let them smear me.
Do it again, John. Say it again. Oh my God. Okay.
I think we've talked enough about how shitty the church is. These people prefer to live in shit, and I'm prepared to let them do that. But I'm not going to let them smear me with it. No,
that's good. And initially, I have that same instinct to go like, but they're wrong and I need to fight them. Like, that's hard to let go. And I want to caveat like, all right, I don't have to fight them about it, but can I rescue others? Can I tell others it doesn't have to be this way? Oh, no, I like that. That's good.
Well, and I mean, it's part of it too, is like realizing my limited emotional bandwidth. Like I was just online with some friends and we were talking about Gen Z, and I had a friend who was just like, I was like, I think Gen Z is amazing. Like the depth with which they process a lot of media is like so powerful and so insightful. And a lot of it is like interpreting every character as queer. And I'm like, I'm here for it. It's just interesting to me. So I brought that forward, and then, one friend kind of said, yeah, but a lot of what they do is virtue signaling. And then another friend came in and said, yeah, I think Generation Z is great, but, and there was always a but. And I'm like, I'm just going to opt out of the rest of this conversation.
So healthy.
Like, I'm just like, and so like realizing that it's like, I don't want to talk about what's wrong with Gen Z right now. And that's my own stubbornness. But their stubbornness is that they're going to want to. They don't want to just give them a win. And that's fine. That's just not where I'm at right now. I'm just not interested because I feel like my kids are going through enough. I don't need to be the person criticizing them.
I think that's so smart, and you're not stopping them from necessarily saying it, but you don't have to contribute any of your fuel on the fire to keep the conversation going. That's really healthy.
They can continue talking without me. Yeah. Oh, I got blocked
for you. What'd you do? Yesterday,
I think. So, like, he talked about like anti-Semitic stuff, and so I replied, "Have you gone woke?" Because he's talking about racism. And then somebody replied, I don't know, they said something about the Jews or whatever. And then I replied, there is no Jew nor Gentile, motherfucker.
Where's the lie?
And then it kind of like went into, then I think that's when he blocked me. Because I think he was sick of watching that happen. And then the guy's like basically... Oh, I'm thinking of another conversation. I'm mixing up two conversations.
But it'll happen.
But yeah, no, that all was the same conversation. Now my brain's jumping to another conversation because they were talking about like women shouldn't speak in the church. And my phone is like, end workout. I'm like,
the workout's over. Just run in my mouth.
Yeah. How did I do? Anyway. Yeah, no, and so like I was just basically I just
the
dumb
fact that
you can't let women be
still a conversation.
And they're like, women are equal according to Mr. MacArthur and like whatever, and I'm just like, okay. And then this guy's just, I'm like, that's just stupid. All of that is stupid. And then someone replied with like the scripture that's like seems like foolishness to the side, whatever. And then it was something, I don't know. I think he kind of implied that I'm burning in hell. And I replied, sick burn, bro.
I can't believe we're still doing women need to be quiet. Like, that's so passe. Why still?
I know. It's bizarre. Okay, so I ended up reading this William Paul Young book. And he's the homie that created
Oh, well then you might be burning in hell. That might be right.
When I say the shack with the whisper, it sounds like it's one of those sexy lady books, It's like,
what happened? Yeah, that does make me go, oh, what happened
like,
in the shack?
Is your mother reading the shack?
What are they doing there? Love Shack. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I used to think that was really bad that women read like those kinds of things. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, okay, this is something that somebody said, and I know I'm not married now, but they said that like a good thing to do in marriage is to be able to say, if the person says, I want to have sex, and the partner says, I don't want to, they can say to their partner, you're allowed to without me. Now, not with another person.
But go
you all
handle
get
that.
yourself some toys.
Yeah.
And then you can just handle it. Yeah.
That feels fair.
By the way, I'm just going to say toys are way better. And that's enough about my sex life. Okay. I mean, not better than a person, but better than, yeah. I've heard.
So, I just forgot the name of the show for a second, but it's After Dark.
Okay, so.
Sorry. I did.
You forgot the name of the podcast?
I can't remember what I was going to call it. But we're on the Random Thought Pod, right? That's right. I was like, are we on ADD Masterminds? I could see.
I like how I just came up with a rant that's like so similar to like, you're listening to Jimmy's Table. I am Jimmy.
No.
You ever listen to his podcast?
I don't think
I haven't
I've
listened
ever
to it
heard
in
it.
so long. I
Did
actually
you?
created an
I don't think
intro
I've
for it
ever.
one time.
I don't think I ever listened to it. Hey, dude.
Shout
Sorry
out
I
to
don't
Jimmy
listen.
Humphrey.
I have a lot going on.
We're still
I
friends
think
on
we
Facebook.
might be friends on Twitter. I don't think we're friends on Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Table.
Yeah. I haven't. There's some people I haven't.
Talking
completely-
table.
Jimmy the Table. Jimmy the Talking
That was
Table.
really funny.
That was funny. For all you former ADD masterminds listening, I don't know
our
if there's
fan.
anybody from that. I don't know if anybody. I don't think any of these people know what we've done.
Our accomplishments are many.
Done. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. William Paul Young. Billy Young. Can I call you
me.
Billy Young? Okay. So, anyways, he said something, because I've really struggled with this concept of sin, because what it has become, it's a set of arbitrary rules that are like, God doesn't like it when you do that sideways.
Again.
I'm talking about sex again.
Oh, sorry.
Right? And I'm like, I hate that, because like it's just pretty much anytime Christians are talking about sex, they're talking about either trans people or homosexuality. Like whenever they're like, oh, sin, sin, right? And so this I thought was so beautiful. William Paul Young defines sin is missing the mark of who you really are.
That's falling short, as that lines right up. Ooh.
It does. And I'm like, that is so much better
Yeah.
than to be like, the creator has created a standard for
Yeah.
everyone to follow. And you better hope you're born straight and cis.
I mean, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like it should be the list of like, here's the things you can't do because these things are a sin. If it's a heart thing, then it's all malice and intent, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's like, and it's simple, you know, like the way my faith works anyways is very simple. I'm just like, God is love. Sometimes I fall short of love and I need forgiveness.
That works.
And so, yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing, like, so I think like part of my journey too has been like dealing with a lot of past trauma, current trauma. And I'm finding that like the both sides people are like the worst people to talk to. Because there's a lot of like, I don't believe that people have their own truth. And it's like, okay, well, like you do have your own truth. And your own truth is that the election was stolen and that COVID wasn't as bad as everyone said it was. Yeah. And like, there's a big list, right? And so I'm like, first of all, that. Second of all, I don't need a balanced perspective on this devastating event in my life. What I need to do is deal with the hurt. And yeah, I mean, at some level, figure out where I screwed up so I don't screw up the same way in the next relationship. Right? And as far as I can tell, it's authenticity. If I were to be authentic from the beginning of our relationship and I didn't try to be someone that she seemed to need me to be, the relationship probably would have ended earlier. Because it would have been like, yeah, you're too much. You're too much of a thinker. You're too much of a comedian, too much of a, because all of those things I couldn't be in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't loved that way. And so it's been transformative to realize that I can be loved that way. That like being fully me is something I can bring to the table, and there are people who will love me for it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
My children. And so, well, it's beautiful because I think like what somebody was able to say, and it was like, I've had so many friends that helped me along the way. And just from my own description, one of my friends, Marco, shout out to Marco Ulao, I don't know how to say his last name, from the Bear With community. shout out to him, because what he said to me is it sounds to me like you were more fully alive when you were with your children. You were more authentic when you're with your children. And I'm like, damn. And my podcast was also me acting out because I could have conversations that I couldn't have at home.
Ooh.
And so it's interesting coming back into podcasting, because I'm like, okay, this isn't acting out of a lack. This is now just kind of like I can act out of my healthier way of living.
That's a ton, dude.
It's beautiful. And it's exciting. I was legit kind of nervous coming into this.
Aw, we're good.
I'm glad I've started with you. And then Marie. And then my friend Zed is going to be after that, I think. So all of this has been like such a crash course in boundaries. We're talking about my life now. This is like a Taylor Swift album, but in a podcast. A Taylor Swift album, but in a podcast. Except it's really interesting to listen to.
I'm going to let you just have dead air.
I know you're
I'm really trying to outgrow. Not outgrow. Like, I enjoy her. I really do. But
enjoy her.
The need to be like, no, she's actually great. Like, yeah, which I just find, and I think it's just because there's so much that I do like and I do relate to and I think is lovely, that when someone's like, she writes 3 songs over and over again, and I just want to be like, my new thing is like, well, that's told me all I need to know, because of 275 songs, I know what you've listened to, and now I know what you haven't. So your opinion is uninformed. Like, I'm not even going to tell you you're wrong, but just you could not know, because I could give you 3 songs right now that don't sound like what you've heard, don't sound like each other, and will crush you. So that's all right. You can do what you want.
So what's hit you the biggest? Like what's the thing that's meant the most to you about Taylor's music?
No, not the most.
It doesn't have to be the most. Just something that comes to mind. What's made an imprint on your soul? Low-hanging
fruit to be like, no, All Too Well was one of the best things that she ever wrote. And now she has her, like, it's 3 years old now or whatever, that she has the 10-minute version. It's the big long one. But she's just, every now and then she has a line that's something that's like just a normal way to say something, but she means it completely different. And she has a couple of lines in there that's just, you call me up again just to break me like a promise. And like that, I can see it in my head that word, that the break has those 2 meanings and they straddle out, that, you know, you're breaking her, you're breaking like a promise that you made to her. Like, there's just a couple that I'm like, ooh, no, that's really good. And like, I didn't associate with that from a relationship that I was in romantically, but I had friends that would call me that I thought we were very close. I thought we were very, very best friends. But then I finally looked back and I was like, it's all outgoing calls from me. It's all me making plans. They have no interest in me until somebody canceled on them, until they need something. And it just came very much like, oh, you're calling me up again just to break me. Like this promise that we were whatever, you know, just there's things like that. There's a lot of metaphor that she uses that I love, but that's one line that will stick for a very long time.
And I think what it is too is I can just say that
and that's fine.
The demographic,
right?
And you are the demographic, and I'm so glad that works for you.
I've been fighting the urge to be like, okay, dude music, what do your dudes sing about? Like, that's that interesting. I went to 2 nights at Metallica when they did it was a great show. I also couldn't hear any of the lyrics. I don't know what they were singing about. I have nothing against them. I enjoy. It was that. I'm like, Enter Sandman. I don't know what that's about. Yeah. I can't help. Like, I don't. What are they? Going to sleep, gripping your pillow tight. But what are dudes writing about? That's so exciting. Honestly, I don't know. So I'll listen to Taylor.
I don't know.
Dudes be
writing about. I don't know. I just listen to Rogan.
I had this vision of you sitting and just getting angry and listening to Joe Rogan. But yeah, so you're not a Swiftie. That's fine.
It's funny though, like when you talk about like friends calling you up and stuff like that, and like where I'm at right now, it's like I don't really hang out with people right now because I just know I'm going to get a lot of bad advice. And so it's been a lot easier just to like, because there's just some people, and I think this is like the difference between having like kind of a colonization mindset versus like a liberation mindset.
You're doing so good with the words.
I'm nailing it with the words today. So a colonization mindset versus a liberation mindset. And I think like a colonization mindset is I know what's best for you. And I think that's where like the conversation about Gen Z was kind of putting me off because I'm like, okay, you guys are being colonizers again. And I'm like, I don't want that. What I want is to be able to like actually hear people out and see if there are like barriers that we can remove so they can fully live out, you know, kind of their calling. Let's call it that if we want to get spiritual, right? Like let people be fully themselves. And it's like, and so there's very few people that are able to do that for me. And those are the people that I'm still in contact with, right? And I think until I strengthen my core self, which is something like I can we'll talk about when I have, you know, Kootenai Girl on, we can talk about strengthening core self because there's all these other, you know, parts of your personality that are like the result of trauma that, you know, it's like, well, I'm just protecting. Right. And, so like once I strengthen my core self to the point where I can stomach these people again, I will, right? Which is a horrible way to talk about your friends, but that's where I'm at right now. And it's like, So, but yeah, I did. Okay. So getting healthier, I've been able to kind of dabble more so in like, I did follow Sean Foyt. I don't know why. I was just curious. It's just the same stuff over and over again. He's like, where should we go next with their like support Israel thing? And Abby's like, the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, I'm going to use that. That's good.
It's a good one. I love it. I love it when my brain does
this
that.
Is so
this
funny.
Is funny. And then when someone else laughs, I'm like, I'm so glad that I discovered that.
The joke is mine.
That's like, did we talk about like what happens when we sleep?
No, I don't think
like
so.
How dreams work? Okay, so I was reading this book called Why Do We Sleep? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Link in show notes.
Typing.
Boopity boppity. It's in the show notes now. I just used my Doctor Strange powers. Yeah, anyways. And they were talking about like how like basically your dreams, like when you're sleeping, your dreams will like take all the things that happen throughout your day and then recombine them in like a super unique manner. And that's like fosters creativity. So it's like if you're able to dream, that will help your brain be more creative the next day.
Okay.
Essentially. And so, and it's kind of funny because I'm like, that's basically what AI is doing right now. It's like, whoa, what if we put this and this together? And it's like, that doesn't even make sense, bro.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's true, though. You give it a couple of prompts and it's like, yeah, I'll do that, but with like 17 fingers. Mm-hmm. And that's how we dream.
Yeah. 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 So I also like, for whatever reason, there was a whole Tucker was on Rogan thing. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to this. So I listened to it, and kind of what I picked up that I thought was so interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay. Additionally, I also was doing that book, Irony versus Outrage, which is fantastic. And it talks about how, like, on the right, you always have outrage programming, like Tucker Carlson, all those guys. It's just all outrage. Look what the woke left is doing now.
It did.
I sounded a little Peterson there.
You know, you
he
were on a
blocked
roll.
me on Twitter too.
You're doing it right.
That was legendary, though, to be honest, because like basically the Alberta government did this whole thing about like gender pronouns, and how kids are not allowed to change their gender pronoun without their parents' permission. And I retweeted the article, tagged Jordan Peterson, and I said, this sounds like compelled speech laws.
Oh.
And then he blocked me.
That is sad. That could have been really good discourse. You could have changed things. No.
No. Anyways, okay, so irony versus outrage. And this is why. Okay. So outrage. And then on the left, what really works politically is to use satire. And people will listen to it and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is dumb. But it's more subversive. Huh. And so it's a lot harder to debate because it's like, it's kind of like, it's almost like, okay, well, my pants are already off now. You seduced me with your humor, and now I can't argue with you.
That really did.
Man, that got
It's all right.
Sorry.
Please don't stand up. I believe
just
you.
For the record. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Wow.
We're so out of practice.
I'm so ADD.
You did.
I even took meds this morning. That was actually, okay, so when I saw the doctor and I talked to them about ADHD, they're like, yeah, well, do you feel like you need meds? And I'm like, no, I'm functional at work. And then when I was doing schooling, I realized it's really hard to read, like to sit and make myself read. And so I've started only like taking my ADHD meds whenever I'm doing my reading. Oh. And that's really helps. But maybe it's worn off now. I don't know. But anyway. Okay. So irony versus outrage. It's almost like we did a little message. It's like, oh, and we're back from our sponsor, ADHD meds. Yeah. So irony works with people on the left because people on the left are more comfortable with ambiguity. They don't need a simple answer for everything. They're like, I don't know. It's complicated. Everything's complicated. And they crave cognition. Whereas people on the right, they want a simple answer for everything. And they crave closure. Oh. So those are the big differences. So now when you talk with someone on the right and you're like, well, no. It's far more complicated than that. They look at you and they're like, no, it's simple. It's like Matt Walsh yesterday was like, it has been an obvious principle from the beginning of time that if you exercise more and eat less, you'll lose weight. I'm like, This is the thing, man. Like, you're just going to keep saying this shit. And then people are just going to be so hard on those who struggle with their weight. And it's like you're just going to keep perpetuating this. And you make so much money off of it because all these people just want closure. Like, that's the whole thing. And so once I saw that, I'm like, that makes sense. This is why I'm not arguing with people. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, if you want to learn something, follow me. Listen to my podcast. I can try to expand your mind a little bit. But if you just want simple answers, go listen to Matt Walsh. Like, that's... Yeah. And I get it, too. Like, you can't be open-minded about everything all the time or you're never making a decision. So I'll give that to you, closure people. But it's like you can't close your mind too quick. If you close your mind too quick, you are now stuck in stupidity for all of eternity.
That's bleak.
And that's not the place you want to spend your life.
Oof.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Tucker on Carlson. This is what I derived from it. They believe that strong people are crass people. And I was like, So the moment someone is speaking in gentle tones, empathetically, they're like, that's a weak man. Because, like, he legit said that all the leaders right now are women and soft men. And I'm like, as opposed to
Yeah.
crass men. And I'm like, that's so interesting.
That feels right.
And it got me thinking too about like that line in
I'm so excited. Yeah.
Chronicles of Narnia. And a certain person in my life who craves closure. That's like their favorite part of that movie is
Of
when
course.
they say, is he safe? And it's like, no,
Yeah.
but he's good. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because one of the things that's been happening for me right now is I've been told by a very dear friend that I'm safe. And that she says, this is a really high compliment coming from someone who suffered so much trauma. I can look at you and say, you are safe. And I'm like, that's a foreign concept to the evangelical. Like, they're like, no. You don't want safe. You want good. But it's like, if you're going to say he's not safe, he's good. What exactly does good mean? And to me, I think what they're saying is he knows what's best for you, and it's going to hurt. And that's the story. And that's how children are raised. And it's perpetuated. And it's what we're running away from. It's what we're like, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of the abuse. I've had enough of you telling me you know what's best for me.
My brain is buzzing.
And I know.
No, my brain is buzzing because I love those books.
Okay,
No, my actual brain. I love those books and I love that line. And, just like, no, you may not be in safety, but he has your good at heart. But then that also, of course, does put then that means that things can hurt. But in this great grand scheme picture, it'll work out better. You may limp, but it'll work out for your good because he's good. And I didn't unpack it in the same way that makes me go, oh, maybe I actually don't like that. That's rough.
And maybe that's me bringing my own religious trauma to it, but I'm kind of looking at it and saying like, this is what wrecked.
And safe is closure also.
This is what hurt.
Like the same, closure and ambiguity, because safe is, well, then I know all of these unsafe things won't happen and I won't be unsafe, so I can I can relax about any of those worries. But if it's just good, then I will be unsafe in places, and that leaves it open for like, no, it'll be good. We just don't know what that'll look like. The security is not there.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think like in the end, like, I know that there's a lot of things that, like, I have a lot of anxieties and I got a lot of things to work through where I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I'm developing a plan. I'm developing a plan as I go. And so I know that like there are things that are going to be painful right now, but it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow to know that the people that are trying to give me all the bad advice, all the stuff that I can't do, are the same people that are like, he's not safe, but he's good. And it's like, so what is that? Like, what is that pain? Is that pain from whom is that pain being inflicted? And if it's from this divinity that you guys are saying knows what's best for us, it's like, well, I don't know if I buy into that. And I think that there are circumstances, and I think, like there's been times where like I've had so many like really, really shitty circumstances hitting me. And I haven't been like, God, why are you allowing this to happen? Or God, you're trying to teach me. I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Just a
Shitty
whole
stuff's
bunch
just
of crap
happening right now. And I'm growing through it. I'm learning through it, and I'm pursuing love, and I know that it'll lead to something good. But it's kind of interesting because I feel like we have like a pretty big disagreement on that. The safe good is one thing.
I always loved it. I really want to love it. But now I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't get that tattooed because maybe I need to think about it more. Oh, that's rough.
It's okay.
No, that's all right.
We don't have to agree on that. So another thing that was interesting that Tucker was talking about was Hiroshima and the bombing of Hiroshima. And he's like, you don't kill civilians. He's like, and I'm like, what? Like, I agree with Tucker on something. And then Shapiro got all like,
I hate that kid.
Buggy on that. And it was, okay.
I don't know how old he is. He is a child. He is 9 years old.
Yeah. But he said, like, just because you're asking questions doesn't mean you're critical thinking, which I'm like, yes, that's something everyone needs to say to Tucker right now. But Shapiro's like, no, we needed to bomb Hiroshima. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'll buy it. I'll listen to that podcast. And in the end, here's my thought. It's like, to argue that we should have bombed, or actually,
hands off.
Canada didn't do it. We didn't.
Do you have them now?
We wouldn't know how to do that with our little hands.
And you're all scared of the dark.
No, we definitely don't have the the Canada dark. But anyways, it's like, to argue that it was okay to bomb Hiroshima is to argue that you got to kill civilians to
Bombing
save civilians.
For peace.
And I'm like, that's just.
Can I curse? We're allowed to curse here, right? I'm going to do the F one.
Please.
Okay. Which I've not done on recording before, but you remember it came out. There's a sign every now and then that cracks me up. That's like, bombing for peace is like fucking for virginity. And I think it's like the most perfect slogan ever, that it's just, your bombs are going to bring peace. Just like, okay, make it make sense, you know? I don't know. Maybe think of that.
Well, that's it. Well, in the end, too, it's just kind of like, well, I'm against terrorism and I'm against genocide. So I don't know where that leaves me. I'm like, and then it's like killing innocent civilians. I'm like, how about killing anyone? Let's just not kill anyone. Like, I don't think there's a situation where we need to kill anyone. I mean, like, honestly, like, we need to remove dangerous people from people that they could harm. Yeah. So I'm game for that. But, like, I just don't think we have to kill anyone. If we've got one life to live, it's like, why not
live theirs? They're not going to get another.
Just make sure that they're in a place where they're not harming people.
Oof.
Okay. So this is what I see from all the kind of alternate news I've been consuming is, like, first of all, I think what was really interesting is there's someone on TikTok that was saying, you know, people are like, the mainstream media can't be trusted and all this stuff. But you'll notice that any of these alternate sources, they're referencing mainstream media to get the story to begin with. And so it's like, you guys don't do your own journalism.
Yes.
Really. But the second thing that observation I made is that alternate news will always look at limited possibilities. So I heard I heard Rogan was talking about, well, there's that, and he totally misgendered. Okay. I'm going to correctly gender this. A trans woman who was getting a procedure done so that she can breastfeed her baby. And the Canadian government paid for that procedure, which I'm like, what is it? Anyways, you like eat Tums?
I
remember somebody saying that's like, it's just that simple.
All that calcium.
I don't understand science, I guess. I know. Actually, I'm learning science right now. I do understand
I know
science.
that
I don't
cis
understand
men
that
can
science.
be
It's
induced to
outside my area of
lactate, so it
expertise.
can't be that far off. I don't know what procedure it would be. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not hard. I legit heard someone say you just eat lots of Tums.
Gospel
But
truth then.
Jamie pulled that up.
That's, dude, say no more. I believe it.
Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's not an expensive thing to do, first of all. But secondly, they're just basically like, they go straight into like, it must be a sex thing. Satan's making him do it. Or whatever, right? And so there's all of that, right? And I'm like, have you guys thought of the possibility that like, maybe you should just leave that person alone? Like, maybe it's okay for people to be gender fluid and just let them figure it out. Like, stop making it such a political issue and just let people figure themselves out. Stop telling people that you know what's best for them.
My initial reaction, and again, I was raised very conservative. I'm better. I'm still getting places. But my initial reaction was like, so the government did something to make sure that a baby was fed in the best possible way? Like, a baby's eating. That's my initial is like, wow, okay, good. Like, you're doing the best you can to give your kid a good start. And I know like formula and breastfeeding moms are haters gonna hate. But that's number one. Baby's gonna eat. And then who it ends up being from is a secondary. That's the story I heard. Baby's gonna eat. Limited possibilities.
Yeah.
What about that baby? Interesting.
Limited possibilities.
This has been very good.
Been so good.
I'm looking at the list and I'm very concerned for like 4, 5, or 6 down. The word gently is in it. Okay.
Okay, let's do this one. It'll be the last one.
Bethany's concerned. Let's do it right now.
So I was at like I was at Comic-Con, and I don't know. It's like just the way my brain works. Just a random thought hit me.
The random thought leader.
Because I am the random thought leader. And I was thinking about how funny it would be if there was a person, a character on a TV show who was either like a reporter or a politician, and their name was Poop Gently. It's like, I'm Poop Gently, back to you, Ken. Or you could have like that like campaign
And I'm
video,
tough on crime.
and then at the end he's like, I'm Poop Gently and I approve this message. That's the title.
Oh god. I didn't know which way. Like, again, it's on the list. I never know which way it's going to go from there. And you're at Comic-Con. And I was like, is this a story about like how we have to poop gently in public restrooms? No, that's a great name. Oh my gosh. I'm gone. And I approve this
like
message.
It, yeah. It's like, why is your first name Poop? I don't understand, but I love it. And I don't know why it sounds like a name. It shouldn't sound like a name, but it does.
I don't know, the one and then the 2 syllables,
nice
like, is
ring
it
to
that? Because I'm trying to think. There's on Parks and Rec, the news guy is like purred happily, like, and that's the same 1, 2. You know, maybe that's just the best professional name.
Yeah.
Poop gently, sleep tight, like.
Really? Yeah.
Like, that's the sign off if they're like a newscaster. Sleep tight.
Poop gently, sleep. I love it. All right, so have you ever like? Do people make weird sounds in the ladies' washroom?
I need.
Like, I just find it weird when I hear someone grunting. I'm like, I guess if you got a grunt, you got a grunt. But it's kind of like when people are playing tennis.
You need to poop gently.
I'm like,
not.
This is weird.
Not really. We really try not to. And I'll tell you, it is because we are so detail and shoe oriented that we're like, no, if I'm making noise in stall number 3, someone is going to see my shoes and see me out and be like, she was taking the poop of her life in the Target bathroom.
Oh.
I do think I hear a lot of like people will talk to themselves, you know, just a little bit, not like encouraging, but like, but I think there's
Lucy.
a lot of just like, oh, nope, drop that. Or where did this go? Like, cause you're sorting through your purse, you're doing whatever. Like, I think there's a little self-talk, but there's no tennis grunting. I would leave.
I've like heard a guy sing. Like he was singing a little bit. And I was like, is this maybe a religious thing?
I guess that could be.
Maybe.
That seems like an odd place, but God is everywhere.
We're very,
Very
very religious about it.
My favorite is kids in the bathroom because they're the worst when they're little because they know how to do doorknobs and they don't care where you are, what level in the process you are of using the dunny. They are opening that door. They are, Mom, what's this? What's in your purse? What are you flushing? Did you poop? Was it big? Like there's always, kids have a lot of questions. Mine are big now. It's fine.
There was that thing on Twitter where there was like that lady who like poops in her backyard. Like she has friends over
No,
who poop in the
what?
backyard.
That's new. I missed that one. I'm glad to have missed that one.
Yeah, I didn't actually watch it with audio on, but she looked kind of like,
All right.
all right.
Oh,
Maybe stuff will grow. Like, I remember when I lived on the farm, we had like our lagoon, and that where all the poop goes, and it's got like trees around it. And I remember there was always like there'd be like a duck in there,
and he did not care.
Enjoying his life. Like, look at that duck. He's swimming him up.
He doesn't even, blissfully unaware.
Blissfully unaware of what lie at the bottom of the pond.
What even was this hour? It really was.
It was pure brilliance. I'm poop gently.
I'm sleep tight.
Oh, that's what we did. So I got a picture. So the my two non-binary kids that I was hanging out with, one was, they were both dressed as Ellie, young Ellie and old Ellie. And so we got our picture taken together. And right as we were about to take the picture, I'm like, we are all daddy.
How did those faces come out? Did that come out like, ha, Dad's so funny? Or did that come out like, oh no? Did you get good smiles or horror?
I get away with a lot. Like I get away with a lot.
Good.
We're still good. It was funny. I just knew I could only make that reference 4 times. And then I was like, that's enough. I wanted to keep going.
It was done. But. All right. We did it.
All right. Well, my name's not really Poop Gently.
That's not true.
Well, it's actually John Howie, but we're going with
I'm the girl, and that's it. I accidentally said my name. I don't care.
Can you sign off with the poop?
Yes, thanks for listening. I'm Poop. Sleep tight.
Thank you. That was good.